if you can take me back to Milwaukee, involving the incident where Tupac got into an incident over Yummy Sandifer, and who Yummy Sandifer was, and what happened during that incident involving Tupac when he got into the situation involving Yummy Sandifer.
Yeah, when you asked me that, that brought back so many memories about that. It all started when the incident with Yummy Sandifer happened. And Yummy Sandifer was this young man out of Chicago. He was about 10 years old at the time, but he was also a gangster and a killer. He was a 10-year-old killer. And he had murders prior before the murder that actually gave him notoriety. And that was the murder of this young girl who the older gangsters in Yummy's community in Chicago put a hit on. And they sent Yummy to do the hit. And all this played out in the article that Tupac read about Yummy Sandifer. It detailed what happened, the backstory and everything. And long story short, Yummy Sandifer killed the girl, and then the gangsters that hired him to kill the girl killed Yummy. And Tupac read this story, and it was a coincidence at the time that we were going to Chicago a week later to do a show, actually in Milwaukee, but we was going to land in Chicago and drive to Milwaukee. So with that in mind, Tupac, you know, he was very angry when he read that article, because his thing was like, you know, grown ass men is getting kids to kill babies. You know, the little girl was younger than Yummy, you know? So that pissed him off. And I can see the anger brewing in him as he's reading the article. So I guess he had his own plans of how he was going to deal with this issue when he got to Chicago, but it was unbeknownst to us, right? Because what he did next was he ran into Jam Master Jay. We was in New York at the time, and he ran into Jam Master Jay. And I don't know how the conversation transpired, but Jay promised that he would send some of his people to meet us when we got to Milwaukee. They actually met us when we got to Chicago, right? And sure enough, on the way to Chicago, when we got there, we got to the hotel, his people were there. And they had all the creature comforts for Pac. They had a bunch of pistols, you know what I'm saying? They had a whole lot of weed, and they hit him off with all that, you know? And they was going to be our bodyguards or chaperones or just our partners as we went through and navigated through Milwaukee. And it was good that Jay sent them to us, because at the show, Pac was headlining that show in Milwaukee. This is 1992, I believe, right? And he's headlining the show in Milwaukee. It's Scarface, it's Spice One, it's Boss. You remember Boss?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was her. It was a few other people I can't recall right now, but it was a big show. And it was at a college, it was like at an arena. It was like the big arena in Milwaukee, you dig? And all these guys, Killer Mike, okay. But all these guys came on and they performed, and then Pac came on last. And he came on and did a couple of songs. We all standing on stage with him. It's me, it's Man, it's the Outlaws. You know, they were all little babies at the time. Maybe one or two other people. Me, I was the guy holding the guns.
Okay.
Right? Pac, my job was to hold his pistols. You know what I'm saying?
Because you were older, basically.
I was I'm his oldest cousin.
Right.
And, you know, I had no problem holding guns for him. I had no problems protecting him. You know, that was no problem for me whatsoever. I didn't think about consequences or anything like that. I just thought that my job was to hold his gun, keep him out of trouble, and protect him. And so he goes on stage and he does a couple of songs. It's crowded. In the front 3 or 4 rows, it's all gangsters. It's GDs.
So GDs, okay.
The BGDs, the folks.
Okay.
It's all gangsters, right? And they showing Pac love. You know what I'm saying? They love this guy. They showing him love, you know? And they ready for him to put on a good show. So he does about 2 songs, does 1 or 2 songs, and he cuts the music off, and he starts chastising the gangsters in the front about Yummy Sandifer.
Wow.
He brings up Yummy Sandifer, and his tone is like angry. You know what I'm saying? His tone is not like, you know, let's talk about this, guys. Nothing like that.
Right.
We got something to talk about. No, it wasn't like that. It was like he was chastising them, and he was kind of vilifying them for killing this young kid. And, you know, the gangsters were offended. So when Stretch cut the music back on, he started rapping again, they started throwing stuff at him. Throwing stuff at us. They were throwing water bottles and lighters and all kinds of stuff. Some of that stuff was hitting us.
Right.
So Pac cut the music off again. And this time, his anger just grew to like, he was almost uncontrollable. Like his veins was popping out of his head. He was transforming into this, you know.
Right.
His veins was popping out of his head and in his neck. And you can see he's pacing back and forth on the stage. And he's just screaming and yelling at these guys, and he's offering a reward for anyone who can point out whoever threw the bottles or whatever, right? So that's what he's doing.
Right.
And why did he do that? Because now he was actually challenging them.
In their home turf.
On their home turf.
Right.
Right. He was actually challenging them now. Like, whoever threw that, we're going to do this to you, this, that to you. I pay anybody $1,000, point them out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Stretch cut the music back on. And after he did that, it just broke out. It was like mayhem, right? It was like, I never seen anything. The only time I seen anything like that was in the movies.
Right.
Like, you remember Cooley High?
Yes,
and you remember in the Cooley High in the movie where they in the movie theater and Coach Cheese or whatever, one of the guys pour popcorn and the other dude, and the next thing you know, it's a riot, a full-fledged riot.
Right.
And that's how it was in that auditorium. A full-fledged riot.
So when the riot starts off, what does Tupac do?
When the riot starts off, what we do, we're in defense mode.
Okay.
Because what's happening now is that the gangsters in the front row are trying to get on stage.
Okay.
Right? They're trying to get on stage and they're trying to attack us. Right? And I don't quite remember what Pac was doing, except for maybe throwing stuff back at him or trying to find a way. I remember what I was doing.
Right.
And what I was doing was, when I saw that they was coming at us, I pulled out my guns.
Right.
And I held them at bay. Like, I tried to keep them off the stage. I tried to, if they saw my guns, they probably would, you know, not come towards me.
It would be a deterrent.
It would be a deterrent, right?
Right.
And while I'm doing that, I'm trying to, there's a curtain behind us. And I'm trying to get us behind the curtain.
Okay.
You dig? And I was able to deter them from attacking us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And afterward, when we got behind the curtain, we ended up in the dressing room.
Okay.
Now the auditorium is in mayhem. It's like completely out of control.
So basically everybody now just fighting each other in the auditorium.
They tearing the auditorium up. I didn't see anybody fighting each other. I just see them tearing the auditorium up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, okay.
I just see that, and I didn't see any police.
Right.
But they saw me.
Okay.
Right. And I found out afterward that one of them told one of my people, I think they told Watani.
Okay.
Watani was Pac's manager.
Manager, absolutely.
I think they told Watani that one of their officers was going to shoot me when I pulled my gun. When I drew my gun, his first thought was to shoot me. But he didn't, because he knew why I drew my guns.
Okay.
So
and that was to keep them at bay.
Yeah, that was to keep them at bay. Okay. So I guess he gave me a pass.
Yeah.
He did.
You still here.
I'm still here. He certainly could have shot me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But after all that transpired, we went behind the curtain, and then from the curtain we went to the dressing room.
Right.
And then inside the dressing room it's just mayhem, chaos. It's like out of control. We hear all the noise. We hear the gangsters trying to bust into the room. The cops are protecting us outside. Okay. And we can hear what's going on. And it's like a panic. We're all in panic mode, you know, and
what is Tupac doing at this time?
I don't quite remember.
Okay.
I know he's with us.
Right.
but I don't remember what he's doing. What I remember at that time was me trying to get rid of the guns.
Get rid of the gun. Okay.
Because I didn't want to get arrested. I was on parole.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fresh on parole. I just got out of prison.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I was on parole. It didn't really dawn on me what I had just done.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you was just in the midst of trying
trying to protect my people.
Yeah,
Not just Pac, but
just the people
the
that
laws,
with y'all.
Stretch, like all my folks, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I think Man had a pistol too at that time.
Wow.
But that was my thinking, you know. I was just in defense mode.
Okay.
And but I remember trying to get rid of the pistols, and I was trying to hand them off to my baby brother Castro.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he was like 17. And I'm like, take these guns, man. He like, hell no, I'm not taking. What, nigga, you crazy? What you giving me your guns for?
Right.
You know, but so all this is going on in the midst of chaos.
Right.
That's all I remember. It was just everybody was just trying to be safe.
Be safe, yeah.
You know?
Right.
It was just trying to keep themselves safe.
Okay.
Eventually, we ended up in the garage of the arena, right?
Okay.
Like, picture area where celebrities come in, the back door, so to speak. There's this garage area back there, and we end up in a van. And now we're getting word that the Gangsters done went to the hotel that we're staying at right across the street. And they began to ambush and ransack that hotel.
Wow.
Looking for us. They ransacked the whole entire hotel.
Wow.
Right? And I remember us sitting in there trying to figure out what we're going to do, sitting in the van, like, what's our next move? We can't just sit here. And everybody was panicking except for Pop.
Okay.
And I remember him saying something to this effect. Now, this is not verbatim, but this is what I got out of what he said. What I remember was something to the effect that whatever happens to me is God's plan. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. Whatever happens, it's going to happen.
Right.
But he was very, very calm, you know? He didn't have any, he didn't seem to have any
fear.
Right. Right. And so we stayed there. We sat there for a minute trying to figure out our next move. The next thing we know, Jam Master Jay people came. I don't know how they got back there. I don't know what they did. I don't know how we met them. I don't remember how we got to them.
Right.
But the next thing I know, we're with them and they are leading us to the airport. They're getting us out of town.
Okay.
Right? And it's late. It's like about 1 or 2 in the morning. It's still chaos.
Right.
And they leading us out of the spot. And they leading us to the airport. And we had to change airports. I think we flew in Chicago to O'Hara, but we had to leave at Midway.
Okay.
We had to switch airports. Because they knew, I guess the Gangsters
was the proximity close to where they were. Okay,
you
right.
know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So they did all that for us. Or Watani. I don't know who quite did it.
Right.
But I just know that that's what ended up happening.
Okay. Somebody probably made a phone call.
I think it was Watani.
Or something like that. Yeah, because what was that, 92? They had cell phones back then.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think, we had, it was the big ones.
The big block
doofy
ones.
looking cell phone. Yeah, so.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, so they got us to the airport safely and we came back to Atlanta. About a week later, we get a phone call. I actually get a phone call from one of Jay's people. And they say, yo, the Gangsters say you guys can come back. Just don't tell Pac, don't come back on that bullshit no more. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Y'all can come back. Y'all good, but don't come back with that bullshit. And I never forget that because not many people in that life will extend that kind of olive branch to you after you come on their turf and offend them.
Right. Or they feel disrespected.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. More than offense. It's a disrespect.
Yeah.
A downright a violation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not many gangsters will extend an olive branch of forgiveness to you after that. After you have transgressed that way.
Yeah, facts.
But they did that for Pac. And I thought that was interesting. I was like, wow, this dude got, he's just more than an average rapper. This dude has some type of influence
Right.
on people, or he has the power to influence people.
The
right?
charisma.
The charisma.
Yeah.
But not only just the charisma, but the ability to stand on a principle.
Right.
Right. In defense of, and when I say stand on a principle, I'm talking about how he defended what happened or was angry about what happened to Yummy Sandifer.
Right.
But stand on that principle of defending his honor and his character, and at the same time transgress rules and regulations on someone else's turf.
Yes.
And then still get forgiven for it.
Right.
That kind of gave me a different look about it.
I think when you say that, I think real recognize real.
Yeah.
And not only did they might have felt disrespected, but they also learned to respect him because he was man enough, because it probably wasn't many people at that particular time that would have even done that.
Or would have had the past to do that.
Right.
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 Like you're not qualified to do that.
Yes, sir.
You don't have that, you don't have that authorization.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You haven't earned that.
Right.
But apparently he did, and he did come back to Chicago maybe a year or two after that.
Okay.
And it was all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.